All right, we are back. I know I was literally just live like an hour ago, but I promised you guys that this week was going to be exciting. We are just a little over a week away from Raise Your Authority 2.0 on May 3rd, and I'm super excited. I'm trying to bring you guys the panel to give you a little taste of what to expect at the Raise Your Authority event. You know, there are so many summits, right? I've been to so many summits, and it's always like, all right, well, why this summit? Why should I go to this one? So I wanted to give you a taste of what it's like. Meet the panelists, get to know the vibe, right? Are these the women that you want to be in the room with, right? Because that's the whole purpose of this event, is being in the room with the right people. And when I was creating this event, one of the biggest values that we keep is making sure that we have women that are in this room that like to see other women win, right? It's all about collaboration and kind of hyping each other up for success, right? No competition, right? And so then obviously with the theme, raising your authority, just before I bring our panelists on, one thing I want to share with you guys is, Raise Your Authority was something that I started a little over a year ago. It was something that I started to do within my own business. I started, really figuring out, how can I position myself as the go-to person in my industry, right? And when I started tapping into that and making that a crucial part of the way I show up online, it started to shine through. People started to know who I was. People started referring me more, started tagging me and stuff. I started to be known as the authority coach, which is a label that my client gave me. I didn't just wake up one day and say, oh, I'm the authority coach. People started knowing me in this way. And now people know me as the launch expert. And so it's a really big game changer when you're able to actually position yourself as an authority in your industry. And I want to share the panelist stories with you. Every single woman on here is from a different industry, different background. We have a very diverse group of women from all ages, all color, that have come from different ways of getting to where they are today. And they're going to be sharing with you the stories on how were they able to position themselves as the go-to person in their industry. Why is that important for you? And how do you do it yourself in your industry? And that's what all these women are going to be talking about on May 3rd. So today I actually have one of our keynote speakers, Monica Monfre. I'm going to do a little quick introduction and then we're going to bring her on stage. So for those of you guys who do not know Monica is an executive business strategist for experienced coaches who are refining their online programs, leading to rapid client results and referrals. Clients refer to her as the expert for experts and hire her as a thought partner to rethink, reimagine, and redesign their already successful online programs, certifications, and courses. So let's go ahead and bring Monica up stage. Hey, Monica, welcome.
Hey, Chrissy, I'm so excited to be here. Yay.
I know, I'm so excited to have you on here. I feel like I've been promoting this event forever, and now we're only a week away, and I cannot wait to hear your story and how you were able to position yourself as an authority in your industry. But before we get into today's interview, feel free to tell us, who are you? Who do you serve? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Oh my gosh, I love being here and I'm so excited. I can't believe May is just like literally around the corner. It feels like I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota right now, and it was 80 degrees like a week ago, and now it's winter again, and I'm ready for it to be summer. But if I've not met you before, I'm so excited to meet you. One of the things I always like to say is I got here by way of a high school classroom. That's right. Like I was teaching high school for 15 years, and before that, I was in higher education. So when we think about my story, I think it's so different. It's not so different than so many people's stories, but it wasn't until June of 2022 that I actually exited the classroom and was like, I can do this. I can be a leader, be an expert for other experts, and teach people the things that I learned inside of the classroom as a high school teacher. So Really excited to dive in. And the other thing I always like to say, because I know we're going to talk about authority and expertise, is it took me a long time to realize that all the things I'd been doing for the past 20 years didn't have to like live under a different umbrella. They could live under my coaching and consulting umbrella. And it, I want to say I'm still working through this. So even though we're talking about raising your authority and I tell people like I'm an expert for experts, it's taking me a minute to actually see that the old me doesn't have to live in a closet inside of my fancy high heel shoe that I wore as a teacher. Like it can live inside of my current outfit, inside of my leggings, my wedge sneakers, all the things I couldn't rock when I was teaching high school.
Yeah, what's funny is I come from the school industry as well. I have a very very weird background as well. Like I was in sales for like 8 years. I sold suits for a living for 8 years, and then finished college. And I was in college for 6 years. It took me 6 years to get a 4-year degree because I went part time because I was working full time. And so I have a psychology degree, and so I was a behavior therapist for a few years, and so I was a teacher assistant at the school department for a short period of time, for about maybe 6 months before the pandemic hit. And let me tell you, I thought about going to school to be a teacher, and I give kudos to all teachers. However, it's the teachers that made me realize I didn't want to be a teacher because every time I was in the break room, everybody was complaining about something that was going wrong, not just about the kids. It was more so about resources. They didn't have the resources that they needed to really give the kids what they wanted. And, when I considered going back for my master's in teaching, I'm like, do I want this? Is this me in 20 years complaining about the school, system or whatever? And so when the pandemic hit, that's when I opened the doors to my current business and, just kind of leaned into it and left my job. So I think you went through the pandemic in the school industry, like through the hard times of it all, like virtual learning and everything closing. And I still can't believe that was only 3 years ago that happened. It feels like a lifetime ago, but out of all the craziness and the horribleness that happened, a lot of us started our businesses around that time because we realized I want more. I want more for myself, and it kind of opened up the doors for some of us to kind of leap on faith. You know what I mean? To not have to go back to our old way of doing things. So I just wanted to share that, but. Yes, I was just talking to Nikema Davis, one of the other panelists, before about an hour ago, and we were talking about owning your gift. And that's what you kind of made me think of when you're like, all right, I kind of made me realize that just because I'm an expert in this doesn't mean that all the things that I'm really great at or the things that I've been through in my life have to be unnoticed. Right? Can you expand on a little bit more about what you're referring to?
Yeah, I think I always go back to, so besides being a high school literature teacher, which means I taught kids how to read and write, I also was a yoga teacher. I have a health coaching certification and a life coaching certification. But each of those things felt like they were super separate. And I'll never forget, I was in New York City where I used to live, and I went to a co working space called the Luminary. And I was the first teacher that they ever had join. I got a discount. And I remember I met the founder, Kate. And I felt so out of place. And I was like, hi, Kate. Like, I'm just a teacher. And she stopped me and she said, Monica, like, you have to take away that word just. Like, my parents are teachers. And I realized that that kind of became the story that I was talking about when I first started my business, is that teachers, especially kind of in this space, have been regulated to like babysitters in some places, even though so many of us hold knowledge that's key. And so now that I've stepped into owning my own business, it's really seeing how the things that I taught 16, 17, 18-year-olds are the same things that will benefit our business, right? How to write an essay, how to hook your audience, how to give them content, how to close it out and make people take the next step is the same thing I was teaching people when I was teaching Instagram. It's, how to engage your audience when you're delivering a master class is the same thing I was, teaching other teachers how to do inside of a classroom. And let me tell you, if you have never tried to market Oedipus to 18-year-old students who would much rather be outside doing something else in New York City, literally that's what it is about selling. And so it took me kind of being out of it, talking to other business owners and being like, oh, I mean, this is what we did inside the classroom. If you do it inside of your business, I guarantee you it will work. And then remembering that when people hear teachers, whenever you hear someone's a teacher, I would go to networking events, and the two questions people would always say to me is, "Are the kids really that bad? And how do you do it?" And
Yep.
so for a long time, I avoided saying I'm a former teacher. And yet the reason why I know how to do the things that I do is because I am a former teacher. And so it's really been owning that expertise and owning that title and saying, I'm not your normal teacher, though. I'm not the teacher that you probably had 30 years ago. Like, this is the skills that I have. And this is why it matters inside of your business. If you want to have better client results, listen, I was able to get results for my students that people thought were unbelievable and unachievable, and I did it. So imagine if we could look at your client results. And that's really how, even in the last like 3 months, really since you and I've connected too, is like, how do I start to own what I did for those 15 years and not have it be about 16, 17, 18-year-olds, but be, if I can do it with them, imagine what I can share with you so you can do it with your clients.
I love that. And you know what's funny is I'm glad I didn't ask you the question that I was gonna ask you. I was gonna ask you like, oh my gosh, you were a high school teacher. How was that?
Well, it was rough, I will tell you, and I don't mind that question. I always tell people, "Yeah, I have to tell you, if you are not all watching Abbott Elementary, please watch it." But I wish that like, I watch it now, and I'm just like, "Oh, yes." So if you're not already watching Quinta's show, please go watch Abbott because it's hilarious, and it's real life too.
Well, you know what too, you brought up another thing you made me think of is that one of the big key elements that I bring into my business is experience, focusing on, bringing your clients through an experience through your marketing. And a lot of that had to do with my past with selling suits for a living, is that, you can buy suits anywhere online, you can buy them anywhere, but people came and bought suits from me for the experience, from the moment they walk through the door to the questions that you ask them to the way that you try the fabric on and the way it's altered, right, and the way you present the accessories that go with the suits, right, and just your actual presentation and the way you're talking, your whole attitude, is that you're bringing them along in experience. And sales is not just about, oh, this is the suit you want because XYZ, the material and everything. It's like, okay, you bring them through an experience, you have them understand, oh, well, when you walk through the door to your interview and you start explaining about why presentation is important and the color and the shoes from the top to the bottom, you bring them through an experience. And it's the same way that I do with my clients with marketing and their launch strategy. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because you're right. Sometimes we forget that's what makes us so unique, right? Is our past life experience. That's why no one can do what you do in the way that you do it. I don't care if there are 6 other coaches or 6 other experts that are experts in your specific industry. That's why I don't believe in competition, because there's no such thing. I'm friends with other people who do launches. I don't view them as competition. I view them as like, all right, let's collaborate. Let's see, okay, if someone's not the right fit for me, how can I send them to you? But because the way I do it is never going to be the way they do it, because we have different past life experience. And I love that, because you're right. Sometimes I think we diminish like a lot of our background, especially like if you're a business owner and you didn't go to school for business, because most of the people that I'm friends with online do not have a marketing or business degree, right?
Right.
And many of us have degrees, but they're in completely different fields. Like I have a bachelor's in psychology, some, like, you know what I mean? And so, and you have I would assume a master's in education,
Yep, I do.
right? And so, yeah, and so it's like normally that's not like the traditional norm, but nowadays that is the norm. Is that a lot of us, we didn't grow our businesses from the standard 4-year Ivy League college or 6-year whatever and then starting a business. Like that's not how most of us started. A lot of us started from our expertise before, and then it evolved into what it is today, which is so incredible. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Were you gonna say something else?
Well, I just love it because I think the other key part is that there's always this whole you have to niche. And
Mm,
I understand why we say that and the method behind that, but also as a high school teacher, like I was niched, right? I taught literature, but I had to know all the different ways to be a teacher. So even though we call it in high schools like content specialty. So But there were plenty of times that I was teaching history at the same time I was teaching literature, because I can't
Mhm.
teach literature without teaching history. I
Yes.
can't teach literature, for all of the students in my classroom who like science and math, which is not my jam at all. But there was ways to make parallels. I also taught high school dance for 2 years, which is a little known fact. I went to college for dance as well. And I remember my students were like, "Miss, this is an English class," because some of them had me as an English teacher. "This is dance class." And I was like, "Yes, but we can't understand dance if we can't understand Alvin Ailey if we don't understand what was happening inside of African American literature at the time." And so to me, it's like, sure, you can have your niche, you can have your content specialty, but we have to know the environment so we can make parallels and make it work for other people. So even though I think niching is important, I also think it's okay to know things about other parts of business. It's okay to be a marketing guru and also understand how offers are created, because if you're talking to people about marketing, you have to be able to make that. So that's a long-winded way of saying, like, I know a little bit about launching, but it is not my specialty. So knowing enough about it to help my clients launch their offers, but knowing that I can send them over to you and you'll be able to help them take their launch and blow it up. That's what's so powerful about niching and knowing what your expertise and your authority is in.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, I consider myself an expert in marketing and sales. And for someone who is an expert in marketing, you still have to understand sales in order to have powerful marketing, because the whole point of powerful marketing is to eventually turn into sales, and vice versa. You can be great at sales unless you understand how to get those people in the door, how to get those people interested, right? And so a lot of sales experts, they'll be like, "Oh, I suck at marketing." It's like, you probably don't suck at marketing in the way that you think you suck at marketing. Maybe you're just not great at like social media strategy, right? But marketing is like a huge umbrella. Or same thing for like social media gurus. It's like, well, I suck at selling. Well, maybe some of them do, but like eventually, if for your stuff to actually work, you have to understand what's going to get your ideal client to buy, right? And so I love that you said that, because I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. But I think that that's also the power of expertise, is owning your expertise and not necessarily staying in your lane. I don't think that that's like what I'm talking about, like what you're talking about, but it's more so like you can own your expertise, but know that you can still be an expert in other little areas, but like owning like your number one thing that you're really, really great at, right? Is what you're going to become an authority in.
100%, 100%. I
Yeah.
love teaching poetry, but I really dislike teaching. This is going to drive everyone crazy, but I really am not a Shakespearean expert, but I love teaching poetry. So it's like, even inside of that, and that's really, think where, when did I finally decide to claim my expertise as a high school literature teacher, is like, there's a lot of parallels. And I think sometimes people don't give themselves enough credit that their old experiences have parallels. And that's, content marketing, like you're just talking about, being able to tell a story about what I did before and then how I use that now actually helps solidify why you should hire me. It's like, oh, she knew this and now look what she's doing. It's inspirational and aspirational.
Yeah, and I think sharing your story makes you become a little more like relative to people, because I think sometimes everyone's looking at us where we are now. And that's one of the reasons why I created this event, is because a lot of times we have these people that we admire online, right? And it's not just about putting people on pedestals, but it's like you have your people that you admire or people that you've hired. And we forget, like, okay, yes, they're known in this industry, but they weren't always. And so how were they able to do that? And that's one of the major key things that we're talking about in Raise Your Authority, is how did Monica become known as the expert for experts, right? How did Chrissy become the authority coach, right? How like when people think of launching, how I've been able to create in people to think about me immediately, right? How does that happen, and what's the benefits of that? What does that journey look like? And so that's what our panelists are going to be talking about, is how are they actually able to go from their past life, right? Where they, well, not past life, but you know what I mean, past like area of whatever job they had or whatever area of business they were in, to where they are now. Because not all of us, like I said earlier, started business degree, not all of us started off that way. And I think it can be a little discouraging when you see someone where they are now. It's like, oh, well, how long is it going to take me to get there? Well, some of us, it did take a while, and that's the reality, right? Everyone's journey is different. Some people hit like their level of success in a year. Some people, it's taken us 10 years. And so there is no timeline specific to like raising your authority or position yourself as an expert, but there are steps that you can take to start working on that now, right? So you can really position yourself that way online. So people know your name when you're brought in, when you're in a room. Oh, I know you as this person, right? I know what you do already. So those are the things that we're going to be talking about. So let me ask you one last question, Monica, and then we'll close up. But why did you say yes to joining the Raise Your Authority Summit? I would love to know what interested you about speaking at this event.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, my framework is called Make Caviar, and the A stands for audience and authority. And I was like, what better place than to talk about this? Because one of the things that I wanted to join, and like I came and I was like, Christy, I want to be a part of this. I saw the first one. I was like, oh my gosh, I so want to be a part of this. Is because I remember thinking that I was just a teacher, that I actually didn't know my expertise. And when I entered this, y'all, I did make 6 figures in a year, but I was selling so low ticket. I had a really hard time owning that people would pay me for my knowledge of how to design curriculum, how to teach with relevancy, how to be engaging. And so I was really just giving it away. And then I was watching other people who have no experience in education, who don't know how the human brain works, who didn't know how to, hold spaces that are brave and that allowed people to step in and be curious. And I was like, oh, but I can do that. And I just kept saying, like, oh, but nobody will hire me. I don't have an MBA. I don't have a million followers. And then I realized, like, the more people I was hiring and they were getting results, I was like, ooh, or you need to own your authority. You need to step into that. Like, I'm a teacher and I'm proud of it. I spent a lot of money to learn how to do this. And when I saw that you were doing this, I was like, there's got to be somebody else who's out there like me who doesn't think they're an authority yet, who doesn't think that their expertise matters. And they're like me, a teacher, former helper of somebody. Maybe they're a social worker. Maybe they're in a space where they've been told that they're really good at their job, but they shouldn't ask for more money. They're really good at helping people, but they just do that because it's their talent and that their talent doesn't deserve to get paid. And I wanted people, including myself, to almost hear myself say to myself, like, you deserve to be paid. You're really great at what you do. And it's time for like there to be new gurus, to say that word. There's time for there to be new thought leaders. And some of us are in classrooms, are in doctors' offices, are in, sitting behind desks at different places and just being looked over. So I wanted to come on and talk about that and share that experience from teachers, from a former teacher's perspective. And let's be honest, teachers have been under fire a lot lately. And our morale and our thought of us being as experts has really been diminished. And I hope that more teachers and more former teachers step into their expertise and their authority. And I hope they come and join us, because to hear that you were in education as well, to hear so many people who are in education are now doing this, I think it should motivate and inspire people to be like, yeah, I'm a teacher. Yeah, I'm a nurse. Yeah, I'm a helper and I'm really good at it and you should pay me.
I love that. You brought up 2 things for me. First of all, is that, when we talk about raising your authority, this is not just about a follower account. Like, I don't think most of us on here have like a humongous following. Like, you do not have to have, like, I think maybe one person at this event has like a really big following on Instagram, but like, we are not talking about, how to be like, how to get 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 followers. That's not what we're talking about at all. So I just want to make sure that's very clear for people. Second of all is I agree. When you brought up the whole like owning it, I am not just this, that set with me a lot, because that's how I felt at first when I first started my business was, oh, well, start comparing myself to other people. It's like, they're not going to pay me, right? Because I don't have the MBA, right? That was a big thing for me as well. So I'm really excited for you to share your story. I can tell that your heart is in this, just by the way that you share. And this is definitely going to your story is definitely going to resonate with people at the event. And that's what's really exciting, is that even if there's just one speaker that you connect with, that where you feel seen, right? You feel seen, you feel heard, and you say to yourself, all right, if this person has a similar background to mine, if they can do it, so can I. And we need more representation. We need more people like that maybe don't have huge followings to show like you can still position yourself as an expert, without feeling like you have to be this online social media guru, right?
Exactly. You don't have
I love it.
to. I'm
I
so
love it.
excited, Chrissy. This
I
seems so
am too.
great.
This is gonna be a lot of fun. So for those of you guys who are tuning in or catching the replay, we really hope to see you there. We have so many people signed up for the event already. We have 8 incredible panelists. We have 7 sponsors for this event, and a bunch of people already signed up. I know this week signups are gonna go crazy because it's always like that the last week of anything. So I hope to see you guys there. May 3rd, we are going to be starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's estimated to be a 5-hour event. I don't expect you guys to be there all day. If you guys can join us all day, we definitely had people at the last event for the entire time. But honestly, if you can just dedicate an hour or 2 or even 3 to the event, you're going to get something out of it. I know we're all busy, so definitely don't make that a reason as to why you can't join us. Go ahead and sign up at raiseyourauthority.com. You can use Monica Monfre100 to save $100 off your ticket. Today, go ahead and check out the caption, and you can use that code to save $100 off your ticket. And we hope to see you guys there. Bye.
Awesome.